So first of all, what caused our blackout? The blackout was in the southeastern part of Berlin city. It's an area with a lot of lakes and rivers, so they have a lot of bridges. It's called Little Venice. And during the refurbishment of one of the major bridges, this horizontal drilling machine that you see on the picture hit both main power lines. And after that, the area behind the bridge has no power anymore. The affected area is in the borough of Treptow-Köpenick. It's an area of about 75 square kilometers. It's not so dense populated. So it's the outskirts of the city with about 70,000 people that have been affected by the blackout that had a duration from about 31 hours. The main challenge for the city of Berlin was that 2 major hospitals and 6 nursing homes have been affected. One point that was very positive for us, it was February, so it's winter normally in Germany, but the temperatures have been very moderate, 2 to 10 degrees Celsius, so we had no problem with frost in this situation. What have been the main challenges to the emergency services? First of all, we had to secure the ways for emergency calls for the affected population. When the blackout occurs, nobody is able to phone the fire brigade or police anymore, so it gets very quiet for the emergency services, but that's no good. So we have to establish emergency call points where the population could go and inform us about all incidents that happened. This have been stationary emergency call points of fire stations or police stations. We have established mobile emergency call points with emergency vehicles, and also the Transport for Berlin bus service was a possibility to send your incident report. The next topic was securing the communication for our first responders. We use a radio communication system with cell towers, and one of these cell towers was affected by the blackout, so we have to bring mobile emergency power generators into the area to keep the system working. But the main challenge, and I will talk about this during the presentation once again, was keeping the hospitals and the nursing homes in the area working. We had to inform the affected population and give them advice how to help themselves, because fire brigade and police cannot help everybody in detail. And we had to confine the boundaries of the affected area. And in my eyes, it's a critical point, because you need a good communication between the different stakeholders to get good information which area really is affected. And simultaneously to the confinery of the boundaries, we have sent in battalion chiefs of the fire brigade into the affected area to do some reconnaissance, to look what's going on there. And one major problem is that a lot of stakeholders don't know what problems they will have with a power shortage or a blackout. So you must send people in that know the problem and that can foresee the development. And we have established drop-in centers where the affected population could go and get information, get a warm coffee, something to eat, or take a nap. But really the main focus in this emergency was to keeping the hospitals work. Therefore, we have first of all sent in emergency power and heating supply to those hospitals to keep them running. But in the main hospital that you see on the picture, there are only at some windows light, so the rest is black, because the stationary emergency power supply of the building has collapsed during the incident, and therefore we had immediately transferred 23 intensive care patients from this hospital to other hospitals in the city. 23 is no big number if you think about it, but normally we do 20 of this inter-hospital transfers on a whole day. And now we had to do this work of a whole day additionally in 2 hours of the day. So it was a really difficult problem. Another very big problem are vulnerable patients. You have, at least in Germany, a lot of people who have an artificial heart, an artificial kidney, or an artificial lung that live at home, and they need power supply to keep this artificial organs alive. So you must know where live these people, and then you can help them. But normally they are not in one central database, so you have to look for them. Another problem that we had during this incident was that we had a mobile emergency power generator that was located at a wastewater pumping station. And during this incident, this generator burns off, and we had to send in the fire brigade to extinguish the fire. So what we have learned is that if you have an emergency power generator that normally is not used heavily, only twice a week in some exercise, and then running for an hour with no workload, you have the big great risk that they will fail or burn in a situation where you use them intensively with high workload over a lot of hours. We have done a lot of lessons learned after this incident. We had workshops and a lot of discussions on different levels. And first of all, we have looked what went well. And what really went well was that the decision makers from the different stakeholders who worked together in this specific incident know each other very well. And that was a very good point, because if you know each other, you have trust to each other, and then you can really good work together. Another topic was that we had in the years before a series of civil protection exercises, and these exercises have trained our emergency structure, and they have given the stakeholders a clear picture what the do's and don'ts of our emergency structure are. So they have been able to deal with these problems of the structure. One very good point is that our emergency service are able to improvise. Militarily spoken, no plan survives contact with the enemy. So you can have the best emergency preparedness planning. When the emergency occurs, you need people who are able to improvise and to do some thinking out of the box. We have sent a leading emergency physician to the hospital for reconnaissance, and that was a really good decision, because he had much more insight than a battalion chief of the fire brigade, and so we had a good and clear picture of the situation in the hospital in our command staff, and we could make better decisions on the basis of better knowledge. And we have really quickly given the affected population who had no potable water more because the pumping station don't work, we have been able to give them potable water in water bags so that nobody has to live without water. But of course, there are things that can be improved. First of all, we think that we need more emergency power generators. We have bought some, but there is a demand for more. But if you have a lot of emergency power generators, you need some kind of fuel logistics for them. And this is a topic that we work on since 10 years, and we are still working on, but we have a good working system at the moment. We think that we need additional civil defense equipment in some central storage, but we will get it. It's a political decision. It's about money, and we don't know. But what really important in our eyes is optimizing the citizens' capability to help themselves. Fire brigade, emergency service, and civil protection cannot help everybody in a situation like this. So you need some own capability in the affected population. We see a need for contingency planning, especially for those vulnerable patients, people who need electricity for life. And if you have a company that organizes something like a small nursing home or something else, they need their own contingency plan to keep these people alive. The main problem for us as Fire Brigade and Emergency Medical Service is that our resources are stretched to the limit on a daily basis. So when an incident like that occurs, we need resources, additional resources to deal with this, and therefore you need some reserves in your system. I thank you very much for your attention, and I hope that something interesting was inside the presentation for you.